For more on President Biden and the G7 summit, let's go to our political panel. With me today is Steve Gruber, a Michigan Talk Radio show host, and Democratic strategist and former Biden surrogate, Kevin Walling. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hey, Mike, good to see you.
All right, let's start with President Biden from today. Let's play the clip.
Putin has been counting on from the beginning, and somehow NATO would and the G7 would splinter, but we haven't, and we're not going to. So can't let this aggression take the form it has.
Has the president been effective in holding the G7 together, Kevin?
I think he absolutely has, and not just holding our alliances together, but you're seeing two other nations interested in joining the NATO alliance. And of course, the president goes on to Spain after this meeting to meet with NATO. So the West has been remarkably united, I think in large degree, due to the leadership of the president, re-engaging our allies, devoting so much of our American resources to this fight, arming the Ukrainians. Nate's coverage from on the ground in Ukraine is so important because you see the resolve continuing in Ukraine with the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky. So that must continue, and the president is there on the ground to continue to assure those relationships going forward.
Steve, your view on that? Has the president done well in terms of holding the G7 together? Obviously, his poll numbers are down here in the U.S. on some other issues, but what about this one?
Well, it's a great point you make. His poll numbers are down because the American people are not vested or terribly interested in Ukraine at all. $40 billion going there. And if you talk to the average American and they see the price of gas and groceries and other things happening, I'm sorry, but sending $40 billion to Ukraine, who's not an ally, not by treaty with the United States, has a lot of people not understanding that effort at all. We have an open border to the south that the president clearly failed on. You have an economy that's in the tank, 8.6% inflation rate, gas, groceries, everything across the board, costing Americans more. And now there's an effort afoot from Joe Biden at G7 to spend another $200 billion on international infrastructure. And it just seems to a lot of Americans that why is America always the one picking up the checkbook, whether it's for Ukraine, because we have far outspent our European friends? Why is it on infrastructure, where we will again outspend our European friends on things that they need? I think most Americans would agree that Europe needs to pick up the pace.
Okay, to the Supreme Court and that seismic ruling on Friday on abortion. Let's put on the screen a map showing the impact in various states across the country. Kevin, what's the political impact of this abortion ruling?
Well, Mike, it's a good question. I think we're still reading through the tea leaves with regards to abortion. All of the polling about Roe before the decision came out should be thrown out because we're now living in a new reality where half the states in the next couple of weeks will see all-out bans. You saw Kristi Noem pushing for a ban even with regards to rape and incest. You're seeing that in Arkansas. You're seeing Mike Pence, one of the de facto leaders of the Republican Party, pushing for a nationwide abortion ban, which is what he will push for if Republicans are successful in November, taking back the House and the Senate. So you have a very extreme situation with regards to this decision, with regards to the number of states moving in that direction. I still think, to Steve's point, the economy will be the #1 issue for most voters come November, 135 days away. But on the margins, this ruling is a bombshell for a lot of key congressional districts and a lot of key Senate races come November.
Steve, do you think it animates pro-choice, perhaps Democratic voters in the fall?
Well, I think that the biggest issue facing voters in the fall could be the shift of Hispanics to the Republican Party. The reason being, as a group, Hispanics are very much pro-life as a group because of their relationship with the Roman Catholic Church. And Kevin's right about one thing. If you ask the open-ended question, does America support Roe? They did. But when you dig deeper and say, what about abortions in the third trimester? Rejected by wide margins, more than 80%. In the second trimester, 2/3 of Americans reject the idea of abortion there. I think at some point in this country, we end up at a place 12 to 15 weeks. That's where Mississippi was on this case that went to the Supreme Court. It's where Florida is today. I think you'll find a number of states will work it out in the legislature, which is the whole point of this, sending it back to the states for debate, for the elected officials of each state to debate and decide for themselves what is appropriate for their state. That's what should happen. That's what will happen. But I think in the end, it'll be 12 to 15 weeks will be the cutoff point. And in the election this fall in November, I don't know that it moves the needle because you've got the pro-choice people all already firmly with the Democrats and the pro-life people firmly with the Republicans. Does it move the needle? Maybe with those Hispanic voters, which are already fleeing the Democrat Party to the Republicans, it could make them even stronger votes. for conservatism.
We'll see where it goes. We're obviously waiting on Supreme Court rulings also still to come this week. Steve Gruber, Kevin Walling, gentlemen, thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.